Eddie Hearn, thank you very much for joining us. We're fight week for Anthony Joshua, always a special occasion. Talk to us a little bit about today. What did you see in Anthony? How did his reception go down? Excuse the drilling. How was it seeing him out there?
It was one of those ones where Usyk came out. I thought his neck looked massive, his shoulders looked huge, and then AJ come out, looked like a stallion, you know, and both in tremendous shape. Got a brilliant fight on Saturday. Really tough fight, and very excited.
Ask an obvious question. What problems does Usyk bring to the table? The common theme is AJ's going to be too big, but we know boxing doesn't always work like that. What does Usyk bring that AJ needs to look out for?
Do you know what? I think one of the scariest things about Usyk is not that he's a violent man, not that he's a crazy man, it's just his mind. He's really clever, and he knows his way around the ring, he knows how to figure things out. They would have come up with something in camp where they think this is the way to beat AJ. And you know with Usyk, he's pretty much going to follow that to a T and be able to execute that. That's the scariest thing about Oleksandr Usyk. But AJ's got to be too good for him, and he's got to stop that strategy and stop that plan.
You've had major news come out about Anthony Joshua today. Just tell us a little bit about what a career template looks like, what that relationship looks like over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however long the career goes on.
Normally you do a contract for probably 3 years, 4 years, and you know, we looked at it and we guessed his career is 5 years, 6 years, and rather than do another contract, we wanted just to wrap it all up in one career-long deal. For the rest of his career, he will be a matchroom fighter, and it was a massive day for our business because always felt that AJ would be with us forever, and to cement it in a contract and in writing was a big day for Matchroom. And obviously having such a powerhouse like him, probably the biggest star in combat sports, kind of any speculation, it could be his last fight, whatever, it's nice just to say it was never going to be his last fight, but now it's in black and white.
I've heard you use the term, and I saw it on Instagram today, it's loyalty first. Yeah. That's the key to the relationship, I guess, with you and AJ.
Because it's very easy. I mean, as the relationship goes on, the loyalty kind of becomes less apparent, but more obvious in a way, because he signed 4 deals with us. The first one was, will he sign with us? The second one was, I hope he stays. The third one was, I'm pretty sure he'll stay. And the fourth one was, well, he will. We know he'll stay. And that's where you get to when you deal with someone who is loyal. Now, if you look across the history of boxing, tell me another major name who has stayed with the same promoter from the debut to the day he hangs up his gloves. You know, I can't name one. You know, whether you go to about Mayweather or De La Hoya or Holyfield or Tyson or Bout, or you know, all these people have switched promoters or left for a fight or come back or whatever. So we've had a great relationship over 8 years, and there's many more chapters to write. I'm
going to bring our friend Dean in just a second. Before I do, I want to ask you about Campbell. Obviously, into boxing, Campbell Hatton work very closely together. Just tell us a little bit about Campbell's fight. What your hopes are for him? We spoke to him before his debut, and then every fight since. He's saying activity is key. I guess that is the plan.
Yeah,
still.
And I think, look, what an absolute result that Campbell Hatton signing a Matchroom Boxing, and we're over the moon to have him. But look at where he's been. You know, started in Gibraltar in the first fight with fans back on a Dillian Whyte Povetkin undercard, then boxed in Manchester behind closed doors, then boxed at Fight Camp at the Matchroom HQ, now boxes at Tottenham. It's only his 4th fight, you know, and activity is key. It's only a baby, you know, he's got a lot to learn. But I tell you what, he's putting himself in situations and he's boxing in environments that will improve him quickly. Yeah. And this is another one on Saturday where he'll probably lose his mind at some point. Yeah. But what an experience.
I'm going to bring in Dean Whyte, who's here, obviously co-host of the podcast as well. AJ is obviously the talk of the town at the moment, but Dillian Whyte's fight has just been announced as well. Eddie, we'll start with yourself. Just tell us a little bit about how the Otto Wallin fight came about. There was obviously a lot of talk of Areola before that. Just tell us a little bit how we got to Wallin.
Well, originally he was going to fight in America, and we liked Jermaine Franklin, unbeaten American, and then he decided to fight in the UK. I didn't feel like Franklin had the draw power, and we went for Areola, who accepted the fight, and then he went missing. And then we're left with like 7 weeks to go, and Otto Wallin pops up. Now, I know Otto Wallin's been looking for a big fight since Tyson Fury. He beat Kaufman, he beat Brazil, but no one's really wanted to fight him. And Big Dillian came out and went, that's a great fight, let's go. And I was like, wow, 7 weeks, Southpaw, a little bit awkward, and he just fancies it. You know, he likes the fight. He feels like it's a fight that gives him credibility. Of course, he's chasing a Tyson Fury fight as well. We all know probably on any other night and any other commission, Whyte would have beat Tyson Fury that night with that cut. So he's extremely credible and a very tough fight.
Dean, you're shaking your head.
No, I'm shaking my head because it's a very tough fight. I think people don't give the matchmaking, you guys and Dillian, the credit for what it is, because it's a tough fight. I hear fans talking about, Dillian's going to do him in 1 or 2 rounds. I'm like,
this guy gave Tyson Fury hell.
The kid fight before, like, he's tough, he's durable, he's skillful, he's rugged, as we saw. He uses all attributes, thumbs, his head. He was doing all sorts of stuff in that fight. And like you said, on any other given sanctioning body or whatever, that fight would have been stopped and he would have been a champion. But, you know, they had a lot riding with Fury and they didn't stop the fight. So, but back to Dill, that's his first southpaw as a professional. And I think it's a hard fight. The cam man, he wants all this smoke. And that's what the new t-shirts say, all this smoke. So it's great, you know, that he has taken the challenge, because it's going to be a challenge. And it's going to be a tall order as well, because southpaw, who knows how to move, who moves his head, who boxes long and understands distance control. So now Dillian's going to have to get in there and kind of get busy, whatever game plan they've worked on, Zav and the rest of the guys in the team, the Shadow. And then this guy, Otto Wallen, has been, you know, doing stuff, beating the Kaufman, beating Brazil and other guys, and he's been chomping at the bits, waiting for a great opportunity like this. And it's landed on his lap by whatever mishap, fortune, whatever it is, the golden bag. This is his opportunity to upset the apple cart and get a great win and rub out a deal and take his spot, you know, and become number one. So he's going to probably come with everything and bring all of it, because he probably feels he's got the beating of Dillian. But Dillian is a guy that's a real. He's what's the man I'm looking for? John McClane. Hard to die. Die hard. No, John McClane.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Trust me, he is hard to kill.
One name that's come up there a lot is Tyson Fury. Back to you, Eddie, on Dillian and Tyson and AJ. What's the heavyweight state of the landscape at the moment? Because it's hard to follow who's fighting who next.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes with the WBC and Dillian Whyte. I wouldn't believe a word Tyson Fury says. I mean, you know, he says he's fighting Joshua, then he's fighting Wilder, then he pulls out Dillian Whyte. He's been mandated twice to fight Dillian Whyte with the WBC and he chose not to. He ain't going to fight Dillian Whyte, in my opinion, but listen, who knows. Right now, honestly, the focus, because of how good and tough the fights are, the focus is Joshua Usyk, right, and Whyte Wallin. Get those 2 wins, because those fights, both guys can lose those fights. So that's just the focus right now. If you start thinking about other people, you get beat. So I'm just glad we've got good heavyweight fights to look forward to.
I just want to ask you very quickly, you were in Austria the other week for Filip Hrgovic. Where does he come into all this mix? Because
he's a real fighter, but he needs a real test.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault, by the way. They went through the whole IBF rankings. It's a shame that the IBF took Dillian Whyte out of the rankings, because he'd fight Hrgovic in a final eliminator.
What do you make?
For sure.
What do you make? Sorry.
He's someone who's got pedigree, who's strong, can punch like a mule. Everyone who I've spoke to said, and I've heard that before. I think Nissi was saying that a lot of people didn't want to fight him, and I understand, because he brings not a lot to the party. He is a skill, he's dangerous, but he's not well known, you know, especially, you know, in the fan. I was saying that Otto Wallen is known but from Tyson Fury, but it's a dangerous fight for less reward. If you're fighting that kind of guy who can punch like and understands boxing, and he's a very, very strong guy.
Final one for me, because I know you pushed for time, Eddie. Babic Brown confirmed for that undercard. Just tell us a little bit about how that fight came about, the response, and where Babic goes. Because
quite surprised with the response, because it's an 8-rounder, right? Babic is a novice. He's had 8 fights. He's a tiny heavyweight. He's never done more than 5 rounds or 6 rounds. He's fighting Lucas Brown over 8 rounds. I mean, you think of 8-round opponents that you could bring in, and people are like, no, that's a mismatch. Brown's going to get knocked out. Well, like, Brown's 19 stone. He's won a world regular title before. He's got some good wins. I know he's at the end of his career, but it's an 8-round fight against a novice. So, you know, I expect Babic to deal with him, but Babic got hit a lot against Bennett. You don't want to get hit like that against Lucas Brown, because one thing he can do is whack. But I do think he'll get taken out.
Listen, boys, I know we're pushed for time, so I appreciate you both taking the time today. Good luck for Saturday and for Whyte after.